Hello dear students and welcome to your new English lesson. This lesson is for grade 7 and the topic is travel advice. My name is Tajana Bundara, your English teacher today. After today's lesson, you will be able to give advice, talk about possibilities or wishes, and obligations for your virtual trip. This lesson contains a video story that will help you understand the meaning and the form of these modal verbs. For today's lesson, you need a pen or a pencil, your notebook, your mobile phone with a QR code scanner, and internet connection. All set up? Let's roll! When you see this plane, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Let me hear your wishes. Where would you like to go? Would it be carefree? Are there any rules you should follow? What do you have to do before a trip? Do you ask anyone for advice? Do you give travel advice to your friends? What about recommendations? Do you follow recommendations? Before any trip, it would be great to check the rules and regulations you have to follow. Maybe even pay attention to travel advice from your friends. But first, let's check if you know these words. Advice, obligations, recommendations, and possibility. Please pause the video lesson and copy these words into your notebooks. And find a corresponding translation in Croatian. Mogućnost, obaveza, preporuke, savjet. Okay, let's check. Savjet, advice. Obaveze, obligations. Preporuke, recommendations. Mogućnost, possibility. Well done. Let's move on. What do you have to do before a trip? I know I must check the weather forecast. Is it an obligation? Well, it is for me. It is my thing I feel I must do before a trip. It's easier to pack then, right? What about you? Do you have some things before a trip you feel you must do? Do you search for any advice or recommendations before a trip? Well, I believe we should always check out the information on local customs and traditions to avoid embarrassing situations. This is my advice and recommendation to anyone traveling. Since I always like to have all my options open before any trip, I would always do a little research on local tips and tricks. What about you? You are about to watch a video story called Travel Advice. Your task is to find one sentence that expresses advice or recommendation, one sentence that expresses obligation, and one for possibility or wish. So the total number of sentences is 3. Don't forget to pause the lesson once you come across these sentences and copy them into your notebooks. Before you start, you can check out the vocabulary corner. The following two slides contain all the sentences expressing obligations, advice, recommendations, possibility, or wish. And I'm sure you will find your examples here. Anyways, let's analyze all together. So, if we wish to express an obligation, how do we do it? What do we say? Exactly. I must check out all the fun facts about Kenya, or we have to pay the entrance fees. But what is the difference between must and have to? Let's take a look at the first sentence. I must check out all the fun facts about Kenya. Is this obligation coming from the outside, or is this my personal thing? What do you think? That's right. That's my personal thing. Okay. And the other one, we have to pay the entrance fees. This one is coming from the outside. That's the difference. So must is personal, it's coming from your heart, and have to is impersonal. Okay. And if we wish to give advice or recommend something to your friends, how do you say it? You should go to Africa. That's right. Okay. And if we wish to express our wishes, we can say, I would like to go to Africa. Moving on. Maybe you have written down these sentences as examples of an obligation, advice, or possibility. I must find virtual tours through those national parks. So this is your personal obligation. We should check on all the regulations, we should check on the papers, I should help my parents find accommodation, or we should find out information on vaccination. And the last one, I would probably get tired before the actual trip. This one expresses possibility. Well done, good job. Before we move on to a set of online exercises, let's sum up. I'm going to show you sentences and your task is just to answer my questions. You don't have to write, just speak out. I would like to go to Africa. What do we express with would? Advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish. What do you think? I think you should visit Africa because you love wildlife and cultural diversity. What do we express with should here? Advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish. You should find out information on vaccination before traveling to Africa. What do we express here? Advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish. I have to do a research on Africa for my school project, school assignment. What do we express here? Advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish. I must check out all the animals that live there because I love animals. What do we express here? Advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish. What do you think? And the last one, Sonia didn't have to pay any entrance fee because her mom works for the African National Parks. What do we express here? Advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish. What do you think? So if you wish to talk about past obligations, you should use had to or didn't have to. Now, please pause the video lesson and copy this part of the slide into your notebooks and match advice or recommendation, obligation, possibility, or wish with the corresponding verbs. Would, should, have to, or must. So pause the video lesson and do it in your notebooks. So we use should if we wish to express advice or recommendation. Must and have to are for obligations. What is the difference? Do you remember? What does this little heart tell you? Okay, so when the obligation is coming from your heart, when it's personal, we use must. If the obligation is coming from outside, then we use have to. It's impersonal, okay? And we use would if we wish to express possibility or wish. So how do we call these verbs that express certain mode? Exactly, modal verbs. Well done, good job. And it's games time. Scan the QR code or type the bit.ly address into your browser and play this online game. The bit.ly address is bit.ly/2 capital letters modals TF. Enjoy it! Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, so let's check the answers. Jen would like to travel to Japan. This is a wish. I have to do the research on Africa. It's for my school project. It's an obligation coming from outside. It's impersonal. Jen will probably be lost without her packing checklist. It's a possibility. I must check the weather forecast before the trip. This is my personal obligation coming from my heart. You should travel to India if you like yoga. This is advice. Good job. Another online game for you. Let's see if you have mastered the difference between must and have to. So please type the bit.ly address into your browser or scan the QR code and enjoy the game. The bit.ly address is bit.ly/5 capital letters must 2. Enjoy it! Okay, let's go through the answers. I must check out all the fun things to do there before this virtual trip. This is actually my own personal obligation. Actually, I have to do it because it's my school assignment as well. This obligation is coming from the outside. This virtual trip means I don't have to pay any entrance fees if I wish to visit those national parks. Again, an obligation coming from the outside. Sonia was there last year, but she didn't have to pay any entrance fees because her mom works there. An obligation in the past. Which animals live in those national parks? Well, I must find out and maybe I'll add it to my school assignment. So this is my own personal obligation. I'm sure you all did well and had a lot of fun. Good job! Another online exercise for you and the last one in this set. This is all just to prepare you for your homework. So in this exercise you have to decide whether to use would or should. This is an online worksheet and you have to fill in the gaps. So type the bit.ly address into your browser or scan the QR code. The bit.ly address is bit.ly/2 capital letters live would should. When you finish filling the gaps, click finish, check my answers. And this is how your worksheet should look like after you finish filling in the gaps. I'm sure you all did a great job. Well done. It's homework time. So choose your virtual trip. You have 3 options: Japan, Egypt, or Singapore. You have also an extra optional exercise if you need it. You will see what is it all about. And your task is to create a video story about your virtual trip. Use IT tools, Adobe Spark, Flipgrid, PowerPoint, or whatever IT tool you are most comfortable with. Give advice about your trip. Mention your obligations. And use modal verbs: would, should, must, and have to. don't forget to post it in your virtual classroom and share it with your classmates and your teacher. Your story should contain around 70 to 80 words. So you can start your sentences with I would like to, I would, I must, I have to. If you're talking about your friend, he or she has to, then you can ask, do we have to? Or then you can say, they had to, we should. So you can use all these sentences in your homework. This is an optional activity and it refers to your teachers. So, dear colleagues, if you wish to have your pupils' works in one place, you could use Wakelet or Padlet, or your virtual classrooms. This is a print screen from Teams, so just make an announcement. I like to use special images when I do it, and have your pupils post their works here as a reply to your announcement. If you already have an idea what to do with their homework, please ignore my instructions. So, dear pupils, these are the options for your homework: Japan, Egypt, or Singapore. So please scan the QR codes or type the bit.ly addresses into your browser and choose one of the countries for your homework. So if you wish to explore more on these countries, here's a great resource. bit.ly/4 capital letters Nat Geo World Kids. That's the bit.ly address. Or you can scan the QR code. If you don't need any extra information, then just skip this slide. So we have reached the end of today's lesson. Grab your notebooks and your pencils and write down 3 things you should do before a trip. Two things you would like to do on a trip. And finally, 1 thing you must do before a trip and 1 thing you have to do before a trip. Okay, good job. Thank you all for watching and taking part in this lesson. I truly hope you have learned something new and had fun. Until the next time, have a great day and goodbye.